Well, welcome back to the Montana Garage. We're out here today working on a few small projects. We just recently got done installing the front suspension on the 55 Chevy. Sure is pretty looking. So we now have a complete dragger. If you don't know what that's all about, check out the last video. So we're done messing with the chassis for at least a little bit. I got to get some new gaskets put in this guy so we can put that guy in that guy. Here's the goodies I got. We got the Felpro one-piece oil pan gasket and a timing cover gasket with a new seal. So let's go get the old stuff apart and put the new stuff on. I'm going to, engines on the engine stand, obviously it will rotate. Hopefully it's going to rotate easier than my rotisserie does. If you haven't seen those videos, check that out. But I'm going to drop the pan with the engine upside down. That way I can, there shouldn't be anything in there, you know, I wasn't having any problems with the motor or nothing, but that way I can just kind of see if there's any metal or anything in the oil before the oil's drained, but before I tip it over, anything that was in the bottom of the pan might drip down the other way. So I'm going to drop it in this position, then I'll flip it over to install the new gasket. Here we go. I'm not really understanding why that won't bite onto there. All right. That's a 12-point socket. I'm gonna see if I can find a 6-point, see if that'll grab it better. In case you guys don't know, 12-point socket, kind of rounded. 6-point socket looks more like the head of the bolt. So both 7/16. We'll see if this will grab it. Well, bam. All right, let's see what we got in here. Nothing too exciting. I don't see a lot of sparklies, but I will dump this out and just kind of go through it just to be sure. But she was running strong when I quit running her, so I didn't expect any problems. Look at there. I even had chrome bolts on that bad boy, so you know I meant business back in the day when I put this together. Chrome is fast, right? All right, I lied. I'm going to do that to the timing cover before I flip it over too. Guess I had 1 7/16 and the rest are 3/8. Interesting. Have I mentioned that I need to organize my sockets and stuff yet so I don't have to dig? I must like digging because that's what I keep doing. Jackpot. Story time in the Montana Garage. I'm gonna guess, again, no expert here, but when you take your oil pan apart, your washers shouldn't look like this. They shouldn't be, can you guys see that that's like concave or convex or bubbled up or whatever you want to call it. I remember when I first put this thing together, now we're talking, I don't want to date myself here, but I think it was in the 80s. Yeah, it was in the 80s. 1980s. Yeah, that's a while ago. I just had a book, How to Rebuild Your Small Block Chevy, and I had my uncle, but I was living in Montana, and my uncle lived in South Dakota, and you know, we didn't have text, and we had phones. I could call him and ask questions, and my dad helped too, but he was also, I think at the time I was doing this, I think my dad was going to school for his new career. So he was away once in a while. But anyways, I remember when I put this together, I had some issues and I had to take it all back apart. But I had, and then the second time I put it together, my uncle helped me because then I went to South Dakota for his help. But he yelled at me because I like really cranked down on the oil pan bolts. And basically all I did is I got it too tight and I pretty much split the gasket. So I can't remember if I got it running and had oil leaks or if it didn't even, if I never had any problems, but I had other problems, the reason I had to take it apart again. But anyways, I remember him yelling at me because I tightened the oil pan bolts up too much. So, and it's pretty obvious that I probably tightened the oil pan bolts up too much. But they weren't, it wasn't leaking. I think if it was leaking, it's probably was from this seal or maybe a little bit right here. I mean, the gasket all looks good. It wasn't like pouring oil out of there, nothing. But the new gasket kit I have has new hardware. I think they're a little longer because the gasket's a little thicker, that rubber one-piece tail. But it gives you like a torque spec of like 12 foot-pounds or something like that. I'll have to look it up again, but I don't even know if I have a torque wrench that'll read that low, but I just won't tighten them up this much this time. And I advise you not to do it either. All right, we're about to attempt flipping the motor over. I'm actually a little nervous about this. I don't know why, but you can see how we got the old forward lean on it. Can you guys see it in there? I know other engine stands I've seen, the, you know, like this shaft extends out the back and then you can stick something in there and turn it. Well, I don't have that, and I'm almost afraid to loosen the bolt up because it seems like it's going to want to just shook. I'm sure it's not, but it just makes me think it's going to. So I stuck this little block in here. I'm going to loosen the bolt up a little bit and then just kind of see how everything looks. I guess if it falls out of there, at least I got the camera on, so it'd be something to watch. I wouldn't be very excited about it. It's pretty tight too. I'm trying to like slowly make it loose so it doesn't just, you know, ooh, looks like she started to spin a little bit already. I don't even know, it doesn't do any good to hold on to it. I can't frickin' stop it if it goes, probably. I almost want to strap it to the rafters or something. What I want is an engine hoist, but I went to go buy one because I need one to do this and help with the body, and I don't have one. Obviously, I wouldn't need to go buy one, but nobody's got one. I can't even find a used one around here, so darn it. I'm sure I'm just being worried about nothing, but I'm still worried. Move them up here, that way if it falls out I can land on my toes. Oh, hey, there's some antifreeze in there. If we change it, you'll know how. Nothing ever stays the same. Definitely coming out of the cylinder, so I don't like it. It's like a family tree, part of you and part of me. Alright, I feel a lot better with that wood supporting the front of it. I was going to take the dang oil filter off because I knew there was going to be oil in there and I forgot to, and so that's where all that oil is coming from. And I guess I never really thought about the antifreeze, or I would have put something under here, tried to find a way to drain it a little better, but oh well, we just got a mess to clean up. We'll get on that and then we'll come back to work here. You got to go outside till I get this cleaned up, Mr. Mooster. He acted like he wanted to take a little drink of the green water here. We all know that's not good for kitty cats. All right, I got the mess sort of kind of cleaned up. And so let's take a look at this mess. So you can see, I was saying I might have just probably had these all tightened up just a little too much, but it was doing its trick. I don't think there was any leaks from the gasket. Like I say, I think it was leaking either right here or just from this seal. So it looks like, so the new gasket says it goes on dry, except for a little bit in each corner, I think is where they say to put a little RTV or silicone or whatever. Looks like I obviously had silicone on both sides of this cork gasket, so I'll have to spend a little time scraping. And then here's what I was kind of getting nervous about messing with this engine stand. So this was tight when I started, but as I was turning, it was kind of almost like screwing itself out. So you can see how it's gone in a little bit. I may get Trey to come out here and help me, and I'll try to loosen that back up and lift up on the front of it while he holds the back of the stand and just kind of shove it back in, because it's, you know, just makes me nervous with the downward tiltage on it. No obvious signs of anything crazy going on in here. Almost like a little bit of surface type rust because it's been sitting for so long. Probably just like condensation in there, you know. But nothing to worry about there. The few cam lobes I can see look like cam lobes. Say it was running fine when I took it apart, so wasn't expecting any problems. But I guess we will go get some, probably stuff some rags in here to try to keep as much as I can out of the bores and out of the back side of the pistons, just out of the motor. And then we'll start scraping this stuff. All right, I got a few different implements of scrapage here. And before this is over, I'm sure I'll be digging around for other things to do something with. So follow along and we'll see if we can get this cleaned up. Well, because I wasn't smart enough to do it when I should have, I guess now I should try to get this oil filter off here so I can scrape in between there. And let's see. Guess I'm not even smart enough to figure out which way it should go. Hopefully it's not super tight. That way, yeah. And have some sort of rag handy. Hopefully most of the oil's already out of it, right? Nope. Don't forget to take your oil filter off before you spin your engine upside down. Most people probably don't need to be reminded of that, but apparently I did. Means it acts like it wants to leak all over. We'll just try to get by without taking it off. If we have to take it off, we will, and we'll deal with the mess. But we will try to do that. I guess I should have done this before I painted the engine, huh? Now it's all dirty. It'll get cleaned up, I guess, but I don't know if you're new here, but I've never claimed to know what I'm doing. All you gotta do is watch and you'll figure that out. All right, back to scraping. All right, update time. I got things mostly cleaned up. I'll pull all these rags out of here and then probably wipe it down with brake clean one more time, just make sure I don't leave any silicone-y stuff on the surface here. I got that cleaned up. I got the timing cover cleaned up. Oh, I haven't cleaned up the oil pan yet, but it's pretty clean. I am gonna take, I got a little metal dolly over here. I don't know. Well, it looks like it was a piece of a leaf spring or something, but I think that's going to work to get in there and back those holes up and hammer them down. So I don't know if you can see that because it's kind of raised up from being tightened too much. So I'm going to try to flatten those out, get this cleaned up. But the moral of the story for right now is I've kind of used up my allotted shop time for the day. So I got to head inside and get cleaned up, and we're going to dinner with the family. So I hope to come back out later tonight and put this stuff back together. But usually when I say that, it doesn't happen. But I'm going to try to make it happen tonight. So I'll see you in a couple hours. Hey there, welcome back to Inconsistent Garage. It's been a solid week since I've been out here in the shop doing anything. And yeah, so nothing's changed. I'm not making any progress, and I got lots of stuff to get done. I guess one thing changed. I did score a engine crane or engine hoist on Facebook the other day, so that's cool. I needed one of those. So I got that here now. I'll be able to use that to probably both put the body back on the frame and, of course, you know, engines and whatnot. So anywho, I got a mess to clean up because last time I was out here a solid week ago, I left a mess. And let's get the mess cleaned up and get back to work on this gasket installation project. All right, so I got the mess a little bit cleaned up, and then I used my new engine crane to take a little weight off the front of the engine so I could slide it back. I should have took it before. If you look back a little bit, you can see that this was sliding out right here for whatever reason. It was just making me a little nervous. So I got that back in, got that tight. Now we can get back to, I'll get the crane out of the way and get back to doing the gaskets and getting this flipped back over. All right, so some of these bolt holes are a little distorted. So just like I did on the timing cover, I don't know if I showed you guys or not, but I got this little, I think it's from a leaf spring or something. Little dolly that fits in the lip here pretty good. These are just a little bit distorted, so I'm just giving them a little tappy tap, try to flatten them back out. Sure. Hopefully we're gonna have a good seal. That one feels good. So we'll do that all the way around, and then we're ready to put the oil pan back on. All right, as I mentioned before, I'm using the one-piece gasket. I'll grab it here in a second. Again, Felpro says put that on clean and dry, with the exception of a little bit of RTV, where the block meets the timing cover, and where the block meets the rear main cap. So we're just gonna do a little goop in each little corner. Take a peek at that, just a little goop in each corner. And I'm not, you know, trying to teach you guys how to do this. I'm not an expert, I've never done it before, but that's what the instructions say. I hope that's about the right amount. If you guys haven't seen the one-piece gaskets, I probably already showed it in this video, but here we go. So eliminates, you know, having the rubber seal here and the cork gasket coming together. So let's see if we can, obviously it goes this way, dipstick hole right there. And yeah, let me put you guys back on the tripod and then we'll plop this in place. All right, everything's been cleaned off. I got my goops in each corner. This thing's in good shape. It's not bent up or nothing. Dipstick holes on this side. Goes, push the corners in, make sure it seats into the timing cover. That way a little bit. All right, and I can see in each corner where my RTV is squished out just a hair, so I'm gonna take that as a good sign. Oil pan's been cleaned out. Probably didn't really need to do. I got the edges all cleaned off and degreased. All right, and the last thing is this gasket is a little thicker. So they give you new hardware. Bolts are a little bit longer. I think I had chrome bolts in it before, so the car's probably going to be a little slower now that they're not chrome, but it'll still be fast enough. Well, folks, I just effed up big time. Sometimes I wonder why I even bother to do this stuff. I can make the simplest task as hard as possible. I was trying to put the oil pan on, and I just couldn't get the, see how the bolt holes, it was kind of like that, and I was trying to pry it, pull it over. I lifted the pan up and I was trying to, first I used like a screwdriver in there to try to line them up. I couldn't quite get them lined up. I think I had, you know, it sucked over too far this way, so I lifted the oil pan up and I was trying to fight with them. And what I forgot that I had done is I took all these little washers and I sat them on top of the oil pan when I started putting the bolts in. And then I picked up the oil pan, tilted it, and all these little washers fell off. Right in this area. I have 14 bolts and 13 washers. I looked all over the floor the best I can. Actually, I only came up with 12. I thought I was far enough away from the engine that none would go down in there. So I thought it was just a matter of finding them, and maybe it still is. But I actually found one in here. So I got that one out. It was sitting in the piston. And I've used my little light here, and I've looked and I've looked, and I actually spun the motor over by hand, and I can't find number 14. So it could have fell down past the camshaft, I guess. Or it could still be out here on the floor somewhere, but I've looked and I've looked and I've looked, and I cannot find it. They were pretty scattered. I mean, one was way over here, one was way over there, under the bench over there. But I can't find it, so it must be in there. I'm thinking it's in there. It could be in there. It might be in there. I don't want it in there. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. If I should drop the intake as it is. I'm sure there's some oil sitting there, and that's going to be a mess. Or if I should just try to flip the engine back over and hope it falls back out. And if it doesn't fall out, then maybe pull the intake off. I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'm going to look around out here one more time, really, really good. And then, I don't know, maybe go have a beer, think about it. I don't drink, so I'm probably not going to have the beer, but I'm just frustrated and mad. I've looked and I can't find it anywhere out here. So I don't know if it really does a lot of good to take the intake off, because it'd be pretty tough for it to get there, I think. So if it's in here, it's got to be underneath the camshaft where I can't see it. So I'm just going to flip it over and hope for the best. Hope it falls out of there. And then if it doesn't, I guess I'll figure out what to do after that. Well, of course, nothing fell out of there. So one thing now is if it was sitting on top of like the camshaft valley, it could be on top of the camshaft itself. Just gonna spin it over a little bit real slow. I guess all I can do is real slow anyways. I don't think it's in there. I'm pretty sure, or I'm pretty confident, I'm not 100% confident, but I'm pretty confident that the washer's not in here. I've spun the motor over a couple times, you know, on the engine stand, and I've also spun the crank over several times. I've looked in here with lights, and I got a little mirror so I can kind of see, you know, under the camshaft. It's pretty unlikely, I think, that it made it into the, you know, the intake cavity or the valley, I guess. I mean, there's just a few there's like an oil hole, I think, between each set of lifters. It's probably big enough for that washer to go through, so I should probably look in there. So frustrating. So I'm trying to decide if I want to put the oil pan on now or get this goop cleaned up off of here before it sets up. I suppose I better clean this shit off, flip it back over, and take the oil pan off just so I can be sure. Dang it. Well, I think I changed my mind. Said I'm pretty confident it's not in there, so I'm putting this dang oil pan on. I'll probably go ahead and take the intake off. some point. If I don't find the washer laying in the garage somewhere, we'll go with that plan. Probably a bad plan. I had to go find one more little star washer because the other one's, you know, probably inside my engine. All right, I think it is highly unlikely that that washer made it into the lifter, or not the lifter, I guess the lifter valley, is that what that's called? Intake valley? I don't know. But I flipped the engine over a few more times. I spun the crank over. I could not find that washer anywhere on the bottom end. I don't think it, I mean, there's some oil holes between the lifters that are bigger than that washer, so it could have came up here. Of course, by now it could have went back down there, so I probably shouldn't put the oil pan back on. I got all these bolts out of here. See if we can pop this loose. Well, as expected, negatory on the washer. Once again, it's a couple days later, but I'm back out to keep rolling on this gasket project that's been going on for, was it 3 years now? Maybe 4. Yeah, something like that. Anyways, way too long. I got to get the intake area cleaned up here. I pulled it off the other day, but that's where I quit. So I got gasket goop to get off of there. I went to the parts store today and got a new set of gaskets, so let's get this cleaned off. Manifold gaskets, and the manifold back on, and then we can finally move on to something else. So we got everything all cleaned up. Still no sign of that little washer, by the way, so hopefully it's not in there somewhere. Still can't find it out here either though, so anyhow, I got it all cleaned up. Got all the crap I can get out of here. We got the intake gaskets in place. Now before, this isn't a how-to video, so I'm not trying to teach you how to do this. I'm just gonna let you know how I'm doing it. Looked like before I had gooped RTV over everything, both sides, which I guess that's not the right way to do it. It seems like the most, of course there's 8 million different ways to do it when you research the best way to do this, but it seems like the most common way is to put a thin layer RTV just around the water ports, I guess. So I got a thin layer of RTV around each water port, and I'm letting it tack up a little bit so the gaskets won't slip. And then the other popular suggestion, it seems, by most people, I had used these before and I didn't have any issues, but most people say to get rid of these little rubber gaskets that go on the ends and just use like a big 1/4 inch wide bead of RTV. So that's the way I'm going to do it. So I'm getting ready to just schmooze some RTV front and back, and then I think people kind of say let it tack up for a second, and then hopefully these will be held in place. And we'll carefully plop the intake down on there, and then get her tightened up. All right, so I applied the stuff. I forgot to turn the camera on, so applied the stuff, let it set for a second, and then I carefully, ever so carefully, plonk the old intake right down in the center. Now somewhere, I actually bought some new bolts. thread sealant on them. These go, 4 end ones are just blind holes or whatnot. But all the rest of them go into the valley or whatever. I guess you gotta put a little sealant on them so the oil doesn't wick up them. Got all the bolts in place. It looks like, according to these instructions I found from Jags, there's like a tightening sequence. So basically crisscross center back and forth all the way around. So we will get it all tightened up. So there we have the old small block mostly back together. These valve covers are just sitting on here with 1 bolt. I got new gaskets for them, but I'm not going to put them on yet. I have to spend a little time cleaning those up a little bit. Intake's been reinstalled. Water pump is right there. Harmonic balancer is right there. I just painted some bolts. So we got some Chevy orange bolts for those bad boys right there. So I'll let them sit overnight and then I'll put that water pump on. I need to get a little sleeve for the harmonic balancer because there's a little groove in the snout or whatever you call it. So that's probably gonna leak oil where it goes right here. So there's a little sleeve you can put on those, I think. What else? So other than that, this thing's about as good as it's gonna get. Now the bad news is, I never did find that washer that I'm sure I talked about somewhere in this video or the previous video, depending on how this all goes together. So at some point, I'm going to move all of this stuff and hope it turns up. If it doesn't turn up, I might pull the pan off one more time. I looked in there very good and I can't find it. I'm hoping that if it is in there, I mean, it's not like in any of the cylinders or pistons. So if it is in there, I'm hoping that it'll eventually just fall into the pan and not cause any damage. I don't like it being in there, so if I can't find it out here, I probably will pull the pan and look one more time just because I don't like that. But I don't know what else to do. I mean, I looked in there the best I can and I can't find it, so hopefully, and I never counted the washers. Maybe I was short one. You know, I doubt it. So anyways, I got that dilemma to deal with. I'm sure I got more than enough footage for this video or 2 or 3 or however I do this. So we're going to call it here. Hopefully the next time I got to put the, you know, that little bit of stuff on, and then I have to clean up the bell housing and transmission, maybe paint those. I went to get the flywheel resurfaced today and the machine shop in town is no longer in business. So I've got to figure out where I can get that done. That way I can put all that stuff together. I don't have a clutch yet, but I can put it all together, get the engine set in here and figure out the cross members. So that's probably what I'll be doing next time you see me back here in Montana Garage. Thanks again for watching.